Hey builders, welcome to this explainer from Forge College. I'm your host, and today I'm stepping into the role of your chief engineer. Our mission? To help you read the complex, and let's be honest, sometimes completely intimidating blueprints of the official Solana documentation. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information out there, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to decode the structure of these docs so you can navigate them like an absolute pro.
Look, we've all been there, right? You're deep in the zone, coding away, making great progress. And suddenly, everything grinds to a halt because of one tiny bug or one forgotten command. You open up the documentation, and bam, you're staring at this massive, endless wall of text. It's literally like trying to find a needle in a haystack, except the haystack is made entirely of code and API signatures. It's incredibly frustrating. But what if I told you that getting lost isn't just a normal rite of passage? It really just means you need a better map.
So here's our engineer's blueprint for today. We'll transition from your personal guides to the official docs, check out the library shelves, trace the developer's map, run through our 5-step diagnostics, and wrap things up with some concrete next steps.
All right, Section 1. From personal guide to docs. Think back for a second to our previous lesson on organizing your personal developer resource guide. Remember how you built that lightweight reference index? Categorizing things by tasks like setup, building, and debugging? Well, that was actually an incredibly valuable exercise, because that concrete act of sorting resources practically hardwired your brain to read the official documentation strategically. Now, we're transitioning your workflow straight from your personal toolbox to the canonical source of truth, the official Solana docs.
Now listen, this is a real game changer. You absolutely cannot read documentation like it's a mystery novel. You don't just start at chapter 1 and read straight through to the end to find out who the killer is. No way. Documentation requires a highly strategic, targeted approach. If you try to treat it like a novel, you're going to burn hours of precious development time. Our goal here is to pinpoint exactly where the API references live, where the code examples are hidden, and where the troubleshooting content is stored. That way you can just parachute in, grab exactly what you need, and get right back to building.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 6 library shelves. I want you to imagine treating the Solana documentation like a grand, physical library where distinct types of content live on very specific, well-labeled shelves.
To use this library properly, we need to get our definitions straight. For those newer to the ecosystem, you've got to know that an API reference is not a tutorial. It is the rigid, exact, machine-oriented schematic of the code. Think of it as just the cold, hard facts. It's going to give you function signatures, parameter types, return values, and error codes. Heck, it might even include a JSON schema or an open API fragment. So if you need to know the exact data type a function expects, this is the specific shelf you need to visit.
To really master this library, you have to understand the fundamental difference between guides and references. Guides are human-oriented. They contain narrative sequences, recommended defaults, and troubleshooting advice. They basically tell you the story of how to accomplish a workflow. References, as we just saw, are machine-oriented and completely exact. Across all the learning programs we design, we constantly emphasize understanding your intent. You want to use a guide to learn the sequence and the why, and then you hit up the reference for the exact parameters and the how.
So, what actually are these physical shelves in the Solana library? Well, there are 6 primary sections acting as your intent filters. First up, Get Started. That's for your environment installation and config. Second, Build, for those step-by-step workflow guides. Third, Reference, for the exact unbending API signatures we just talked about. Fourth, Tools and SDKs, for language-specific details like your Rust or JavaScript import paths. Fifth, Examples and Tutorials, where you grab curated, runnable code snippets. And finally, Release Notes or the Changelog, where you track any breaking changes. Next time you open the docs, just take a breath and ask yourself, which shelf do I actually need right now?
Okay, Section 3, the developer's map. While the library tells you where things are stored, the map model tells you how to actually travel between them.
This crosswalk matrix brilliantly illustrates that journey. It maps common tasks to specific sequences in the docs. Let's say you want to deploy a program. Your optimal route? Start at Get Started to make sure your environment is good to go. Move over to a build guide for the actual sequence. Hit the SDK reference for your exact commands, check the examples for idiomatic usage, and finally, glance at the release notes just to ensure there are no breaking upgrade considerations. See how that clarifies your dependencies? You're not guessing anymore, you're just following the map.
Which brings us to Section 4, the 5-step search workflow. Now that we have our library shelves and our map sketched out, we can get highly tactical.
Let's set the scene here. You are mid-build, you are properly caffeinated, you're in the zone, everything is going fantastic, and then, bam.
the terminal just spits out red text, invalid account data. Ouch. It is the dreaded error message every single Solana developer has bumped into. Now, in the past, you might have just started changing lines of code at random, kind of crossing your fingers and hoping it goes away. But not anymore. We are going to diagnose this like real engineers.
Here is exactly how you conquer that error, step by step. Step 1. Formulate the exact question. You've got to turn vague needs into highly searchable terms. So instead of typing account create, you type create account JavaScript SDK parameter lamports. Precision gets you direct hits. Step 2. Filter by section. Use the search index to look in the reference shelf for the error string's meaning or guides for the account data layout. Step 3. Validate against an example. Pop open the example repository and see exactly how they initialize the account and assign space. Step 4. Check those release notes. Did a recent update change how account fields are ordered? You got to find out. And step 5. If all else fails, check the troubleshooting guide on the relevant page. This specific rigid sequence is exactly what saves you from agonizing endless trial and error in your code editor.
Finally, Section 5, Takeaways and Next Steps. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today.
Let's summarize the core engineering blueprint we just mapped out for the Solana documentation. By adopting the library and the map metal models and enforcing that 5-step diagnostic workflow, you've fundamentally upgraded your problem-solving toolkit. So, what should your immediate operational actions be? You need to integrate the official docs straight into that personal resource index you built last time. First, pin the absolute most authoritative reference pages for your main programming language. Second, bookmark the specific example repositories you actually plan to run locally. And third, hit subscribe on those release notes so you can catch breaking changes long before they break your app. These are the exact habits that keep you and your team perfectly aligned on canonical sources.
To keep this momentum going, I've got a quick assignment for you before our next lesson on effective search and indexing strategies. I want you to dive into the Solana documentation and bring back just 2 things. One reference page link that you expect to use a lot, and one example repository link that you actively want to run. We're going to use those exact links to practice some advanced search queries and build curated bookmarks together.
Armed with this blueprint, you are no longer at the mercy of massive walls of text. You are a chief engineer navigating a well-organized, highly efficient system. So I'll leave you with this. Now that you have the map to the entire Solana ecosystem, what groundbreaking protocol are you going to build first? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. Please make sure to visit forge.college to explore our other Web3 topics and take your development skills to the absolute next level. Happy building, and I'll see you in the next lesson.